Well, welcome everybody. We're real excited to have you join us tonight on our office hours. We'll give you a couple of minutes here to hop in here, but as you're doing that, we've got our friendly disclaimer that's on the screen here. Just to remind you that we're here tonight to give you some basic answers to questions. If you get too deep with us, unfortunately, we'll have to tell you that you're going to need to schedule a 1-hour meeting with us. And that could happen. That happens from time to time. We realize that you've got the best of intentions, but sometimes your questions are just so deep and or are going to require much more than just a couple of minutes to answer. So please give us a little grace when that happens, but just realize that tonight is not intended to give you tax, legal, or investment advice. In those particular cases, you absolutely need to seek out professional help in those areas and really work with professionals that can do that. We are professionals in our own right. Let's do this if we could. Let's take a minute to introduce ourselves, and we'll start with ladies first. So Rynda, if you'd like to introduce yourself, that'd be great.
Thanks, Dan. So yes, I'm Rynda Wilk, one of the pros here at College Aid Pro. And I've been a financial planner and a financial coach since, probably about 13 years ago. And I moved over to just doing college planning after, working with so many people who were on the other side of the college equation, trying to pay off their student loans. And it felt to me like I could do a lot more good helping families get their kids through college without taking out too much in loans and just finding the best solution possible for them. So that's how I ended up doing this. And I'm happy to be here to answer your questions.
Thanks, Rynda. Chuck, how about you?
What's up, everybody? This is Chuck Bates. I'm just like Rynda. I've worked as a financial advisor for several years and worked in finance my whole career. I got into this because my wife and I were foster parents and adopted a little boy, and found out in Texas, any kids that come out of CPS get tuition waivers. So I figured if I didn't know that, what else don't I know? And really started to study and kind of fell in love with the impact we can make on college-bound families. And not to mention, outside of your lifetime tax burden or your house, the cost of college is probably going to be your biggest expense. So, if we can help with that, that goes a long way to helping families, get to retirement as well. So I'm thrilled to be here. I'm lucky to have Rynda and Dan, driving this boat, and just happy I can chime in once in a while.
Excellent. Well, thank you, Chuck. And my name is Dan Bisig. So I was a financial planner for 25 years, and sometime in the midst of that, I got introduced to college. What I didn't expect to have happen was that I was going to fall in love with it so much that I totally walked away from the insurance and investment business, actually sold my practice, and have spent the last 17 years as an independent educational consultant who from the beginning is always focused on college affordability. So it was a natural for me when College Aid Pro came a knocking and said, hey, we'd love to have you do some work with us. That was last year. And so here we are a year and a few months into it and going strong. But anyway, we're real excited that you're with us tonight. I want to share something with you right off the bat because we're real excited to have a boot camp that's going to be going on. It actually starts August the 7th through the 10th. And it's going to be on a variety of topics. In fact, we're going to be talking about admissions. We're going to be talking about college funding, scholarships, you name it, a lot of different things, a lot of different individuals speaking on that presentation, college funding in general. So I would encourage you to look for that. This is the link that's in. Hopefully you guys can all see that. Did that come out to everybody or not? Hang on a second. I don't think it came out to everybody. I'm going to copy it and do it one more time. This time you're going to get it, I promise. Here we go. There you go. Now everybody's got it. So go ahead and copy that. Make sure that you click on it. It'll give you all the details about the boot camp. It's absolutely free. And it's where we do individual sessions during that week on just some great topics with some fantastic people that are speaking on those. The other thing that I want you to know about is if you go to the College Aid Pro website, which I will put that also in the link right now, but College Aid Pro, actually, I guess it would be www.collegeaidpro.com. But the thing that you need to know about that is that it does a great job of giving you all the options. And so I'm going to share my screen with you again so we can take a look at this. Let's see, hang on a second here. Got to get to the right spot. Am I still sharing my screen with you guys? Can you see it?
You are not.
I am not. All right. Well, we're going to fix that right now. Okay. Let's see. Here we go. All right. So what this does is it lists our products and services up here in the top right-hand corner, top left-hand corner, sorry. And then you'll get our packages and pricing. And this is what pops up here. Everything from our premium level to our software plus an expert. What the premium level is, just so that you know, for those of you that are out there that are using the software, it's where you get access to all of the colleges in our database for $149. So just something to keep in mind. The other thing is you can use a coupon code of OH15 for office hours 15, and that'll give you a 15% discount off of that. That's a capital O, capital H. The second option is software plus expert. That's where you not only get the software for an entire year, and by the way, in both cases, after a year, the software goes to $5 a month, which to me is a steal. That ends up then dropping that pricing down as well. So the premium, less the 15% discount, drops it to $126.65. And I haven't done this in a while. The software plus an expert drops to $261.75 with that 15% discount. And then last but not least is our full service hours. And really want to talk about this because you need to know that there is a price increase that goes into effect. The last day, in fact, is July the 31st. After that, the pricing for these different options, and I'll open this up to show what they are, goes up by $250 on every single one of these. So the financial aid alone package is $32.49. The admissions is $42.49. And then if you do a combination of both of those, it's $52.49. And, you know, those each come with a bunch of benefits. So I would really encourage you to take the time to look at those again on our collegeaidpro.com website, go into products and services, and then you'll see the packages and plans at the bottom. But without further ado, why don't we do this? Why don't we jump into some Q&A questions tonight? Chuck, do you want to start with the first one?
Sure, absolutely. I love this. Hello. On an earlier webinar, I heard there are some loans under the parents' names and others under the student's name. Can you please elaborate on the differences, pros and cons, etc.? Thank you. Sure. So basically, there's federal direct student loans, which are in the name of the student. They're considered use it or lose it loans. They typically are $5,500 freshman year, $6,500 sophomore, $7,500 junior and beyond, and they typically have the lowest interest rate and origination fees. On the parent side, there's Parent Plus loans. They are typically available up to the full cost of attendance. They have typically a higher interest rate and typically a higher origination fee. So those would be the basic differences. You can go to the FAFSA page. I'll put it in the chat, and it'll give you a little bit more detail, and just look at the difference between federal direct student loan and then Parent Plus loan.
Awesome, Chuck.
Anything to add on that?
I would just add a couple of things for private student loans. Typically, if the student is borrowing, they're going to need a co-signer, so the parent's going to be on that loan most likely anyway. There are a few lenders that have some no co-signer loans, but I'm sure the underwriting for that is pretty stringent, and the interest rates are higher as well. Some of the pros of the student having some loans in their names, that they get to start building their credit report. Not that I'm encouraging that they take out excessive loans just for that reason, but it is one benefit of taking out a little bit and student loans as they start building their credit. One of the and this just happened to someone in my family. I heard about it this week. Of if you are co-signing with your student on a loan and they're not making the payments, then that's going to hit your credit in a bad way unless you kind of take over and get them straightened out on that. So just a couple of things to add.
Excellent. Rynda, why don't you take the next question? Can you see that one?
I can. Okay. I'll make sure I'm doing the right. Oh, Vanderbilt doesn't consider CD accounts into assets. Do you have any insight on this? I find it odd that a certificate of deposit is not considered an asset. I would need more information about that. Do either of you know anything about Vanderbilt not including CDs as an asset? I'm not sure.
I'd bet the under on that. I
Yeah.
find that awfully hard to believe.
I do too.
You know, when I saw that question, I tried to do a quick Google search on Vanderbilt's website to see if I could find anything, and I did not. So you know, not knowing any better, I would say that's not accurate. And you know, if you need to call Vanderbilt, I mean, they're a CSS school. I haven't heard about that being applied to any other CSS schools, so I wouldn't bank on that.
It could be if you're filling out a form and you're not seeing a space specifically for CDs, you know, they might be expecting you to include that in one of the other categories that are listed. That's the only thing I can think of that might be confusing, but yeah, I don't know anything about that.
I would be shocked if they don't ask for that information. I mean, it's an asset just like anything else. It's no different than your checking or savings account or your stocks or your bonds or whatever you've got out there. So Chuck, I agree. Pick up the phone, call the financial aid office and ask them to clarify that for you. Something tells me if somebody's actually put that out there, that's a wise tale. I cannot believe that they would think that would be okay. All right, next question. 2024 student who has not finalized the 10 to 15 college list. We're working on it, but do you think we are too late in the game? And is it a red flag, an ACT at 35 and a 4.0 GPA? Also considering FAFSA is delayed, we will get additional 2 months, but CSS is due in October by ED. Thank you. Okay, so here's the point. No, you're not too late. There's absolutely plenty of time for you to still work through this college list. In fact, truly the only thing that's going to create a challenge for you is for some of the deadlines. You know, do they have an October 1st, October 15th, December 1st, December 15th? I forgot about November, huh? November 1st, November 15th, deadlines out there for specifically scholarship consideration of, I mean, with those kinds of, with a test score of a 35 and a 4.0 GPA, I got to believe that you're looking hopefully at some schools that are going to reward the student for that. And so, you know, continue to narrow the list down. I say that you should always be looking at colleges in 4 ways. It needs to be financially the right fit, academically the right fit, socially the right fit, and I throw geographically the right fit in there. Just because I think if all 4 of those are solid as a rock, your student is going to go someplace and thrive, not just try to survive. So that's my thinking. Anybody else?
Great advice. Just remember the average transfer costs somewhere between $15,000 and $30,000, depending on what statistics you look at. So making sure it's the right fit first can save you some money.
Amen. Yeah. Chuck, you want to do the next one?
Sure. My son has a scholarship for full tuition. Congratulations. That's amazing. But has to pay room, board, fees, etc. Can we claim via the American Opportunity Tax Credit for fees and expenses? So no, according to the IRS, room and board, insurance, medical expenses, transportation, living and family expenses do not qualify for the American Opportunity Tax Credit. I will put a link to the IRS page where you can read about that into the chat. But unfortunately, if I'm reading your question right, no, it's not going to give you a whole lot of relief. Keep in mind too, there's some income phase outs for the American Opportunity Tax Credit. I would have to look that up, but I want to say it's about 160,000 for married filing jointly, and phases all the way out at maybe like 180 86 or 82. I'm not sure exactly. But
Yeah,
there's
don't
the-
forget the software will actually show that to you too. If you're using the MyCap software, it'll show you whether you're qualified for some or, none of that American Opportunity Tax Credit.
I hope that helps.
Yeah. Rynda?
All right. Divorcing parents. Divorce may not finalize till after FAFSA time in order to make sure we have time to have schools recalculate for single parent when is drop dead date for divorce finalization. So you don't actually have to be divorced to be treated as a 2-household family for financial aid forms. And so I don't know of a drop dead date. Dan, Chuck?
No.
No. So if you're already a 2-household family, the rule is for the FAFSA this year that you're going to include the financial information for the household that provided the largest financial contribution to support the child, the most financial support. That's probably a better way to say that. Yeah. To support the child. So, and if you, I'm assuming that maybe you filed married filing jointly for the tax year in question, which would be the 2022 tax year. If you're, for this fall filing, FAFSA filing, then, you can go through and kind of back out, split up the numbers so that you're just reflecting the correct household numbers in the financial fields.
And by the way, notice that she said specifically 2 households. Somebody could be separated. In fact, unfortunately, it's happening to my neighbor right now where they're sort of separated. In fact, they're talking to a divorce attorney, but they're still under the same roof. Guess what? You're still married in a case like that. You're still filing the tax return. You're still filling out the FAFSA, and the CSS profile for that matter is married. So don't get caught in that thinking, because in some cases I understand, that other person leaving either willingly or whatever might compromise that. So it's got to be that you're in separate households. All right. Thank you for that. Let's see. I'm not sure if a question about the Common App is appropriate here, so my apologies. There are optional questions related to family background, particularly parental education levels. Do you recommend answering these, and can high parental education level be held against a kid for admission purposes? Interesting question. So I'm happy to answer this because in my case, I always have my families go ahead and put their educational level down. I think sometimes it helps to support, the fact that the student is going on to college. What they're really looking for in that case is that they're looking for maybe confirmation of first generation students, where the parents haven't gone on to college. And I sure don't think it hurts with those schools for them to understand how important education is to the student by what they're doing there. So to me, it's never been an issue. I think it's okay to go ahead and put that information down. Where it might get a little sticky is whether you worry about putting down, like in a divorce situation, again, like we were just talking about, some other step parents information. I think you can get to the point where there's too much information provided. So just be, cautious with it. But those questions you often see on there that they're not required, but I don't think that it can hurt. So that's my 2 cents on it. Anybody else?
No.
Okay.
I'll defer to you on that every time. Is this from me?
Chuck, I think you're up, Chuck.
All right. We went to a campus tour and they mentioned about student medical insurance. Is it a requirement to get additional insurance through the school, or can the student continue to use existing medical insurance? So that's a good question. And I don't know 100% this answer. So I may have to defer to Dan and Rynda, but I do have some experience with a local student I helped last year whose family did not have insurance. She's going to Bryn Mawr this year, and they wanted her to pay $8,000 for the school issued insurance, and it was becoming an issue on whether she was going to be able to go there because of that. So I guess what I'm trying to say is I think schools do require some form of insurance, but where you get it probably doesn't matter. And I think sometimes the school, the insurance the schools offer can be quite expensive. So Dan, Rynda, anything to add on that?
I mean, I know that they won't necessarily require you to buy into the school's insurance if you have your own insurance. I wouldn't expect them to require both.
Yeah. And that's definitely true. If you can show proof of the fact that the parents still have you under their insurance, then there shouldn't be an issue with it. You know, what gets you in a lot of cases with the colleges is the other nickel and diming that comes with all the other fees, right? I call it the stealth fees, you know, when they slip in there and before you know it, you got another $350 per year of things that you didn't even know you were going to have to cover. But it happens. It's part of the deal. So yeah, medical insurance shouldn't be an issue.
Okay, it looks like we're back to my divorcing family parents. And there, I got a note that the issue is with the division of assets. So, and you guys tell me if you have a different take on this, but you know, since you have to report your assets as of the day you submit your financial forms, as long as you are holding joint assets, I would say to submit it as is and then use that as a basis for an appeal in the spring. Do you guys have a different take on that?
I mean, I normally suggest that they go ahead and that parent figures out what portion is theirs and put it down that way. But what you said is right on as far as the ability to use it as an appeal opportunity. My only concern there would just be giving them too much information about the other family, especially if it's a FAFSA only situation, you know, and it depends on where you kind of fall on that whole SAI thing, the student aid index at this point with that. But
yeah, I think Rynda by the letter of the law is 100% right. But I've done it both ways. And honestly, what the families that I've helped, you know, I tell them, hey, this is your information. You have to be comfortable what you're putting on there. And I think it depended how comfortable they were with what the asset split was actually going to be. Like, did they feel it was pretty concrete and set in stone? And then they went ahead and did that. If it was a what do you call it, a very disputed divorce or disputing the assets, I think they would have been less likely to do that. But I think it was, you know, pretty amicable and they knew how it was going to play out. So just remember, you know, you might have to go through verification, right? And they might ask a few questions.
yeah, so the question has come up. We've said in previous office hours, informal separations are not enough, and that's true. It's got to be it's got to be a legal separation going on. What's the best way to make it a legal separation? You're in two separate households. Okay, it can't be that again that you're just, you know, camping out in the same one bedroom and the other bedroom and calling yourself separated. It's got to be that there's something to formally do that. So
I just pasted the text from the studentaid.gov website for what is your marital status, and you know, hopefully that will add some clarity to it.
yeah. Always proceed
Hey,
with doing whatever you can legally. So you got somebody checking in with you here, Chuck.
Yeah, so this must have been somebody who was here last week, and believe it or not, I did look this up, and I think I even sent a link to Rynda about it when I looked it up.
Yes.
So it seems like a legit and great tool. It kind of seems like in the state of Minnesota, they're going to help make up the difference between kind of need for in-state families. I didn't do a super deep dive because I'm sorry, I didn't think you were going to come back and put me on the spot, but I'm glad you did. But it looks legit. It looks like it will be very helpful to Minnesota families. And I was pretty impressed with what I read. If you have a specific question, what you want to know about it, and you put it in there, I'll actually go back and do the research. It's something new and I'm interested in it, so I don't mind spending a little bit of time on it. But yeah, everything about it looked positive, is I guess how I'd spin it at this point.
Yep.
All right, well, that's the end of the questions right now, unless somebody's feverishly typing out there. You know, we're at an
Oh.
interesting time, aren't we, with, is there something else in there?
Sorry, I just saw something in the chat. I'm looking to see if it's a question.
Okay.
Oh, someone was asking the cost of getting assistance with filing an appeal. So that would be an hour consult. If you didn't want to go through the whole Wake Me When It's Over package, and that's what, $350?
It's $349, yeah, less the OH15 discount, which you could use on that. So. Okay.
Oh, and someone else is asking if there's an update on the date in December that the FAFSA will be available. I have not seen an update, unfortunately.
Nope, not yet.
I just put the link to the North Star Promise program in the chat and the kind of highlight. Again, it's intended to be the last dollar. So between need and what the balance of tuition and fees is. So hopefully that helps. Since we're in between questions, one thing I will throw out there to everybody, the student loan interest will start in September and payments will start in October. If you've been a borrower in the past, those are important things to be aware of. If you've been accruing interest through this pandemic and the deferment or forbearance that's been offered through the Biden plan, sometimes interest has accrued on some of those loans, or I guess I should rephrase that. The interest situation can be very different depending on the loan, right? If it's been consolidated, all kinds of different things. But once that interest starts accruing again, it will capitalize and you'll be paying interest on interest. So you might want to check the unpaid interest balance of your loans as something to look at and potentially get paid off. Just little things to think about. If you are not on a current payment plan and have not provided proof of your income or employment during the pandemic, those might be important things to think about and do. We've got a lot of families in our firm that are, panicking now that payments are going to be starting back up soon. So those are some of the things we're recommending. If you're not sure what payment plan would be best for you, the studentaid.gov has a great tool where you can click on some boxes. Are you married? What's your income? How do you file your taxes? What do you expect your income to be? And it will tell you kind of what the best plan for your situation is. So if you have loans, I really encourage you to take a good look at them before September 1st.
Yeah, I don't know where we kind of left off, but who wants to take this question? Silence.
I'll give it a try.
Go for it, Chuck.
If a family knows they'll qualify for need-based aid, is the figure on a CDS, I'm not sure what CDS stands for, a strong percentage to work with. That figure often yields different results from CAP results. Is that the common data set? That's my best guess. Okay.
Yeah, I'm sure that's what it is.
Yeah, so there it is, common data set. Thank you for the reply. I would say the common data set is a good start. We have the benefit of having a bunch of pros at CAP who work with people throughout the country. So we do get a lot of offer letters or award letters that we get to review. And those are built into the software and the data that we use. So we like to think we're using maybe a little bit more real-time information. But again, it's kind of an estimate, and it's the best we can do given the information we have. If the difference is significant, then I'd encourage you to find a third source, like maybe the school's net cost calculator itself, and then compare the three and kind of see if you get an average or a rough estimate. And if you think something's really out of whack, you can send a note to support at College Aid Pro, and we'll try and take a look at it and see if we can clear that up. So I hope that would be helpful. And then I just noticed it. We have somebody with their hand raised. I don't know what that means in terms of Zoom. I'm sorry. If you're the person with your hand raised and you want to put something in chat or ask a question, please do. But I don't know how to reply to the raised hand, so I apologize.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, just put whatever comment you've got into it would be great. Okay. Well, we'll give it a few more minutes here. This could be a short evening, which is okay. We hope that it's been helpful as we've gone through a few questions and tried to give you some more guidance. Remember, we are not here to give you legal advice. So if you're asking us stuff like this whole divorce thing, make sure that you're doing your own research, talking to your own legal advisors on those types of things. It's really, really important that you're doing that. We absolutely do not profess to be attorneys, accountants, any of that kind of stuff. So, and also if you've got, questions, please do us a favor and for sure put it into the Q&A, not to the chat box, as we're, kind of coming to a close here. But for sure, if you are considering, if you haven't already, doing something with one of our options, specifically the white glove options, whether it's the financial aid option, the admissions option, or the combination, realize that the prices will go up effective 8/1. So if it's something that you're considering, or for those advisors that have joined us tonight, because I can see some names that we consistently get, it seems like every time we have a session like this. If you have clients out there that are considering that, make sure that you share that with them so that they don't get blindsided, because it's going to go up. It's going to go up again on September the 1st, and it's going to go up again on October the 1st, because as we get busier and busier and busier, in fact, we were just talking before we went on the air here that all of us have gotten inundated with brand new requests for meetings of talking to people. It's just going to continue to get busier because, as the connections with College Aid Pro and MyCap across the United States continues to grow, with our connections with schools and everything else like that. It's becoming a bigger and bigger issue, and we love helping families. I mean, that's the thing that we enjoy the most, is being able to help families through what's going on. So anyway, any other final comments, questions, emotional outbursts from anybody before we wrap up here?
We got one that came into the chat on the right. I'll read it and let one of you guys answer it. Is it better to leave assets liquid or make the jump to purchase a home? Does FAFSA take the primary residence into account? Which would be smarter?
Well, FAFSA does not take the primary residence into account. However, that's a big, I wouldn't consider that question in the silo of college planning. That's a big family decision that you would want to take your whole financial situation and life situation into account before deciding whether to put your assets into a home.
Yeah, and I would just add, I'm hoping you would make that perfect fit Dan talked about financial, academic, social, and geographic. But say you put all your assets into a home and they went to a FAFSA school one year and then transferred to Northwestern the next year, who has a big penalty essentially, or has a bigger impact on home equity. You might have done yourself a favor the first year, only to do double damage the second year in a case like that. So yeah, there's a lot of things to think about, and you can't, like Rynda said, you can't silo that one off, I don't think.
I totally agree. Yeah, it looks great on paper, like it might be a positive to you because it removes that asset from the formulas. But what happens if, right? You got to always ask yourself that question. Okay. By the way, folks, do us a favor. Again, if you've got questions, put them into the Q&A, not into the regular chat box for us. We do appreciate the positive comments that have been coming in, and that's awful nice of you. We do have another question here. Rynda, if you want to take that next one. Or do you want me to take it? It's dealing with the Common App. I'll take it.
I think you would.
Yeah.
Better person to answer that one.
And so it says, are questions about race going to be removed from the update, specifically the update to the Common App? And for those of you that don't know, the Common App goes into a close down mode here from the 28th to the August the 1st when it reopens with the new supplemental questions and supplemental essays and things like that for the colleges. And I can tell you, you know, affirmatively, I have no idea. I have no idea if they're going to remove things from it based on the ruling. You know, there's an awful lot of talk out there because I'm on a lot of presentations. There's that's going on with college admissions right now where the colleges themselves are trying to figure out how to handle it. And one of the statements that's being made is that they're actually encouraging students, you know, depending upon their circumstances, as far as their ethnicity and things like that, to possibly put details about that in their essay so that it actually is taken into consideration in some way or another moving forward. It wouldn't surprise me that that's going to be kind of the way that it's handled down the road. So, but I just can't tell you for sure because I don't know what's going on behind the scenes with the Common App. I'm sure that they've had to address exactly this issue with what they're going to do. So,
yeah, Sarah Lawrence was one of those that have added the SCOTUS ruling question to their essay prompts. I just put a link in there to if anybody's interested in reading about it.
And then we have a question. I have a student graduating in 2026. What is the best time to fill out the FAFSA? Well, you can do an estimated FAFSA just to get your approximate SAI or EFCs based on your current situation anytime, just for planning purposes. But you won't actually fill out the FAFSA until what date will it be in the fall? At some point in time, let's see, that'll be in 2025 in the fall, most likely at October 1st or later 2025.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry, you said they're graduating in 2026. I'm sorry, I was thinking entering, so I got that year wrong. Let me think about this. 2026. No, that's right. 2025. Yeah.
And just remember, the CAP software will give you those EFC estimates probably better than any other place out there. At least we sure believe that. So you know, you can make that subscription now, run your estimates, start your school list, and then if you have to subscribe an additional year, it's what, Dan? $5?
$5 a month. It's a trip to Starbucks.
So,
you know.
So I'll just throw that out there as an option.
Yeah. Hey, thanks for the comment here. We appreciate you guys too. We love being here to help you out tonight. This one's for me. Since you're in Ohio, actually, I live 30 minutes from Ohio, but I feel like I can answer. I'm in Kentucky, by the way. Are there any Ohio, Indiana schools that are known to be more generous for families with need? So, hey, if you'll come to Kentucky, there's a fantastic school by the name of Berea College that is just incredible. And Berea is one of the schools that absolutely will step in and provide money. You got to do a little advanced search here for us.
Yeah, I didn't mean to cut you off, but I figured
that's all right. Go for it, man.
So just remember, the tool has an advanced search. Once you're a subscriber, beyond the freemium version, you can come in here and you can search any state. So, you know, if we wanted to look at Ohio, you can put Ohio in. We'll say only 4 years, merit scholarship, you know, any scholarship, and search for schools. And we can sort by, what do you think the best sort is? Scholarship money or probably?
Well, since they're trying to find it for need-based family, it would probably be a funding gap.
Funding gap. So, and that will kind of show you, you know, you can kind of click into any of them and see what they're offering. So, you know, Denison, I think is, you know, an offering, in this case, based on the data I've mocked up for my daughter, a $20,000 merit scholarship. But anyway, if you need help with, you know, an advanced search function, any of our pros would be able to help you out and, you know, tie it into whatever states you're most interested in.
Yeah, and by the way, for an Ohio school, I can't give you an idea here. Don't forget with Denison, look at the amount of need-based grant money that's there. It's almost $56,000. And so that's one of the things that they're known for is, they fill a large chunk of that. Where you can see that kind of data point though, is if you go into the financial aid, look at that, 99.9%. So that shows you right there that they're doing it, that they're giving a lot of money. They do give some merit out. And in this particular case, they're giving a sample of that. But, another school that's well known in Ohio for doing a lot with merit and need is the College of Worcester. So that's a great school. Kenyon also gives a lot of money out in that same situation because of need. So those would be examples of Ohio schools. And Indiana's got a number of great little liberal arts schools too that do that. Where you're going to run into some trouble, Indiana, well, actually, Indiana as a whole, when it comes to their public schools, to me are very fairly priced. I mean, they compare a lot to some of the numbers that you see even with the Florida schools. Although Florida schools are just incredibly good when it comes to lower pricing, but a school like Purdue University, which is an outstanding engineering school, that'll be about $45,000 per year. You compare that to go up the street to the University of Michigan, which is going to be $75,000 to $80,000 per year as an out-of-state student. And also, the challenge though, so that there with the plus side of it is the negative side, which is if you're looking at it as an out-of-state student, unfortunately, they're not going to give a lot of of need-based aid. So my encouragement would be anytime that you've got financial need, that you really do everything that you can in your own state. That's the big opportunity. Those are the places, and that's where our software can really help you to clearly see that, versus trying to chase money in other states where you have to remember what's their charter. Their charter is 100% to do as much as they can for their own, for their own families that live in that state. Okay, so just keep that in mind.
Got another one on race. So it says, do you mean race won't be considered in 24-25 application based on Supreme Court decision? I'm not sure how race was considered before. Sorry, I can't make out something clear as many colleges propose workaround to that decision. So I think you're implying exactly what we think. Like there's a Supreme Court ruling that says one thing, and how each school is going to adopt it is yet to be determined, right? They're going to certainly abide by whatever the laws and the rules. But then I think there'll be other states and politicians who use this as a way to grandstand or implement their own personal politics. I think it was Missouri where I saw the attorney general send something to all the state universities saying they had to no longer grant scholarships based on ethnicity. So, I don't think anybody knows what the answer is going to be that. And I certainly wouldn't want you quoting something we said based on something so new. So, it's going to be a moving target, and you'll just have to kind of read the articles and the news that comes out. If you have questions about a specific school, reach out to their admissions department and see what they say. I would be willing to bet that many of them will have very different answers. So I hope that helps, even though it's a kind of a non-answer.
Well, and here's the better thing, just wait until August the 1st, because come August the 1st, the Common App, which is what we're talking about, is going to have specifics on there as far as what they're able to ask or not ask. So it's just around the corner. We'll see how they handle it.
All right, looks like another one came in via chat. I'll read it and then one of you guys can answer. But again, if possible, please put them in the Q&A, not the chat. We'd really appreciate it. It says, hello, just look back at Matt and Peg's webinar from June regarding how to pay for college. I'd love to chat about federal direct student loans and Matt's recommendation to take one out, even if you're going to pay it back right away in order to build your students' credit, and also the optics if you need to request it subsequent years should your circumstances change. So I think Rynda touched on this earlier. I'll let her, give an update, but yeah.
I'm not sure I understand the part about the optics. But yeah, it can boost your, help your students start to build a credit history by taking out the loan. And then obviously when they make payments, especially when they're required to make payments, need to pay them back on time, for that to work in their favor, but I'm not sure I understand the end of the question. Do you guys understand what
Yeah, I think the optics is that something's been demonstrated by doing it, by taking it out. So that, let's say that down the road, and then this is what I'm surmising, that down the road, say that your circumstances as a family changes, that if the college at least has a history of you applying for that and taking it out, that makes them a little bit more receptive down the road if you do indeed suddenly have to do it. I mean, look, let's face it. I will tell you, in my 17 years of doing this, I've had parents that have lost their jobs, that have died and even become disabled, you know. And in those circumstances, that's a game changer when the revenue or the income can no longer come in. For schools that specifically are using not only the FAFSA, but also the CSS profile. In fact, I got this question asked today from one of my cousins, believe it or not. He said, should I fill out the financial aid form? And I said, I always encourage families to do it as a backup plan, because you just never know what could happen. And in particular, if a college is going to use that as a yes or no proposition for their own institutional money, then you want to have something in the records that shows that this family did indeed do that. I think we all agree with that, don't we? You know, so I get it. It's a pain. Some families really don't want to disclose that information to somebody on the other side because they don't know who's looking at it. And I understand that, but you know, it's all about protecting yourself for the what if. It's the same reason we take out insurance, auto insurance, home insurance, flood insurance, whatever it might be. That sometimes you have to do something. This is kind of an insurance policy in case something were to happen.
Looks like we got a follow up on that. Is that the only reason though to take one out? And I would say no. I think the mechanics of paying are very important. And I have a lot of families that say, okay, hey, you know, it's going to cost me $25,000 a year to go to college. I've got 80,000, so I can only cover the first 3 years. And they wait till they get to the 4th year to take out all the loans. And in that case, you know, they can get a smaller, you know, or they can get the smaller federal direct student loan. But if they have to supplement that with a Parent Plus loan, they're paying, you know, that higher interest rate and higher origination fee. Where if you would have taken the smaller loans all throughout all 4 years, your total borrowing cost would likely be lower. And again, I'm just kind of extrapolating on that a little bit. I'm not, you know, I'm not doing the math on your specific situation, but generally the total borrowing cost of taking the direct student loans are less than having to use a Parent Plus at the end or some other more expensive loan.
Yeah, and don't forget too, again, that the key with it is it's a use it or lose it. You either use those loans in that year, and I think you mentioned that, Chuck, or you don't. And that's the other challenge, is that families sometimes think that they can just hold that off, you know, and use the accumulation of the $27,000, and that's not the way it works. So
that's a great example of why you might want to book an hour with one of the pros. You know, you're asking a question that in its own right is maybe a kind of a yes or no simple answer, but when you combine that with the greater picture of all the other things and your entire school list, there could be a lot to change. So you know, Dan touched us on this in the beginning. We're doing our best to answer these questions with the limited information we have, but without the whole picture, there's a lot that we don't know, and you know, an answer here may not be the best absolute answer depending on the school or your personal situation without other information. So just keep that in mind and be gracious to us.
yeah, as Paul Harvey said, you know, then there's the rest of the story, right? Okay, NN's been busy tonight. But correct me if I'm wrong, you guys mentioned in all meetings that federal direct loan is easy money to let go. Not sure if I understand that exactly. Families should take federal direct loan because interest won't start 6 months after graduation and parents can pay before that. And it's a win-win situation. Thank you. Yeah. I mean, you know, that statement is true, you know, is that the loans don't, or the payments don't start for 6 months until 6 months after the student graduates from college. But, you know, once again, are we talking subsidized loans? Are we talking unsubsidized loans? I mean, there's an awful lot more into that answer than just taking it and running with that. So don't just throw that in as a, you know, perfect solution for everybody.
Yeah,
Right.
I think, oh, Go ahead, Rynda.
I was just gonna point out, yeah, you said interest won't start for 6 months. That's only applicable if it's a subsidized loan. So if it's an
Right.
unsubsidized loan, you will be charged interest.
From day one, right? That's so true. Yeah.
Yeah. And I would just say, if you're quoting from kind of Matt and Peg in their, how to pay for college thing, I think what they're trying to imply is if you have to borrow, this is probably the place you want to start. That I think that's the biggest implication. They're not saying it's the best answer or, solves all the problems, but I think they're implying this is where you should start and compare your other loans and opportunities to borrow too. Dan or Rynda, anything on that?
Yeah, no, you're right on. It's every family's situation is unique. So that's what we all know. Believe me, with all the calls that we all field, with all the different situations, yeah, there's some consistencies to things, but man, oh man, are there so many variables that are, that get added into it. So many variables.
And I mean, we all work with clients on an individual basis, and I can't tell you how many clients I've had where we've been down the road a long time, and then they'll add one piece of information that changes the equation, and it's 3 weeks, 6 weeks, a month later that really changes things. So the more information and the more complete information you can give, gets you better results.
All right. Well, it's 7:52 here on the East Coast. 6:52 where you are, Chuck. And on the West Coast, it's what? It's 4:52, right? So as we're kind of wrapping up here, any final nuggets of wisdom or anything that anybody wants to share?
I just want to
Okay,
say
well, hearing none.
Thanks to you two for letting me join you every night.
Same way here, man. Hey, I refer to us as the Three Musketeers when I was talking to people today. So, folks, I hope that you've got a lot out of this. We enjoy it. I mean, quite frankly, it keeps us sharp too. And it also makes us realize we don't have all the answers. And I hope that you understand that. And as Chuck said, give us some grace on that, because if you understood it, or if we all understood it, then by golly, it would probably be a book, who knows how thick, with all the details associated. But we've really enjoyed doing this tonight. We absolutely wish you all the best as you continue to navigate your way through this college process. And Chuck and Rynda, as always, thanks for joining me tonight. And you all have a great evening, and we'll see you in 2 weeks again when we host another office hours. And don't forget the OH15 if you're looking at doing any kind of an upgrade, and lock in those rates before the rates go up, because you'll be hating yourself if you don't.
Yep.
All right. Good night, everybody.
Night, everybody.
Night.